Hey y'all, I know it's not just me, but who else has been super curious and invested in Leon and Wanda's relationship lately? Here's the breakdown on the history of Leon and Wanda and how it all started, and a little bit of my predictions for the future. Let's talk about it. All right, so boom, y'all. How Leon and Wanda first met. When Franklin and Leon first met Wanda, Leon definitely was catching feelings very early, super quick, and Wanda kind of did too. But Sis had a little bit of morals to her. She wasn't trying to play that. Leon definitely wanted to get her in the bedroom, and she was just like, "No, we gotta chill. We're not gonna rush it." Even though they both were catching feelings, and it was clear, like they were the cutest, y'all. The first we see of Wanda and Leon together is in season 2 when Franklin walks into the party at Jerome and there's Leon and Wanda sitting on the couch together doing it, doing what couples do. And I don't know, I'm gonna jump out on a limb, but I think that this is the happiest that we have seen Leon. And going back and looking at this, I kind of want to see this Leon again. Like, can we bring him back? Because the Leon that we see today is stressed. The Leon that we see today don't have his best friend. He's just kind of like floating out here and making super crazy decisions. And though we learn about Leon in the beginning, like he has been to jail before and he has a past, he definitely comes across as just like a regular kid, kind of like Franklin. He has a little bit more edge than Franklin, but for the most part, he is a kid just like Franklin. Who's super down to earth, super chill, and happy. And we really start to see not only Franklin morph while getting involved with this drug game and really having to grow up fast, but we really see, I think, Leon morph. And I think that the seeds of what we see now in reference to, or even then, because Leon and Wanda started to have a really tumultuous relationship, especially when they both started to interact more with the drug game. Unfortunately, Wanda started to use the drugs that Leon was selling, and we really start to see him morph into a more violent, more dangerous, more angry, less happy person. And this is where we start to see the relationship take a slip. But before I start to talk about that, let's talk about Wanda for a second. We can clearly see that she has an addictive personality, which eventually leads to where we are now in season 4. That seed was planted well in advance. I don't feel like Wanda was as much of a stable, solid character when we first meet her. She definitely seems to be a follower. She definitely seems to be a person that kind of like just goes with it and is also floating. So while Leon is definitely like he is who he is, believes what he believes, Wanda was more so like the airy person, and it's for me not hard to see how she got to where she is when she started to do crack, because she kind of started off that way. And it's not as easy as like, oh, Leon starts selling drugs, so then Wanda starts doing drugs. No. Wanda Bell is the new girl in the crew, being Leon's girlfriend once they finally made it official. And Franklin eventually gains trust for Wanda and lets Wanda start to cook the crack. And this is in the very beginning, y'all. Now looking back, we could definitely see that that was not the best idea. I mean, we can't blame Leon or Franklin though. No one suspected that Wanda would actually get hella hooked and screw things up for the business and her relationship with Leon. But it's really kind of hard when you have a drug like crack, y'all. Like, there are going to be people, like if you're thinking about, like if you have a crew of 10 people and y'all selling crack and y'all around crack all day, the numbers, right? The percentages break down. At least 2 people out the crew, 20% at least, is going to try it. It's going to test something out. And then the rate of like people who test or try crack and actually get addicted to it is like up in the 80s and 90s. So that's why people say never do it once, because you'll never not be able to do it. No one expected Wanda to actually take this step, but once she took the step, it was over. And that is one of the big things that I love about this show, because they definitely just show us the negative impacts crack had on the African American community. This is set in LA, but this was happening all over, and I grew up seeing this similar type of stuff, and I really appreciate how raw and real they are actually displaying this on screen. Okay, so when we see Wanda, first take her first hit and start to get hooked on crack, that's when we start to see the chinks in the armor of their relationship, and Leon's love starts to slowly fade. We actually can still see that Leon still loves Wanda, But in the moments where she actually started to get addicted and they went through their bouts of like having to like lock her up and try to keep her from breaking out to go and buy drugs, I think he was losing respect for her. I don't know if he was necessarily losing love for her, but he was definitely losing a lot of respect for her. That whole thing was something that deeply, deeply hurt Leon. I wonder if Wanda was Leon's first love. That would be interesting. What do y'all think? Tell me in the comment section down below. Is Wanda Leon's first love? When Franklin first asked if things were real between Wanda and him, Leon replied, "As real as a heart attack." And it definitely says something to how deeply he felt for Wanda at the time. And as I mentioned before, Leon is definitely still showing love for Wanda in the current season. It's obvious that he wishes that he could help her. Every now and again, we see him stopping her from getting into a fight with drug dealers. She's the one who actually warns Leon about the drive-by after he gives her some money when she's trying to sell her tooth so she could buy crack. So he's like constantly still looking out for her. There's so many ways that this thing can go, and I'm really, really, really hoping that this does not go in a way in which we actually see Wanda die this season. That's a conversation that people have started to have ever since episode 3 in season 4, because again, I do believe that Leon is still very much so in love with this girl. That's one of the ways that it could go. At the time that I'm recording this video, we're between episodes 4 and 5, and Wanda's in the hospital, and Leon has paid the hospital to keep her there so that she can also get clean while she's in the hospital. And they have their whole little moment where she wants him to stay with her because she doesn't have any family, she doesn't have anybody else, and he like, I got other things to do, but he ultimately decides to stay. So we kind of get a peek of hope into, can they potentially reconcile? And I think that that's the other way that it could go, right? Like, I was worried about us seeing a death or seeing Wanda die this season, because I think that the gunshot that happens in the drive-by for Leon is just like a foreshadowing thing. And I do think that if she was to die, that was something that could really, really, really hurt Leon and potentially change him forever. But I'm hoping the other situation happens where Wanda's able to recover, Wanda's able to kick this stuff, and they're able to actually get back together, because they really do seem like they have genuine love for one another. And Mel has seemingly been able to kick the drug. We saw Mel and Wanda running around together in previous seasons looking for crack and smoking crack together and all of that kind of stuff. And now when we see Mel in season 4, she seems to be clean, she seems to be back on the straight and narrow, and I'm hoping that we can see the same thing for Wanda. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Is Leon responsible for Wanda's addiction? That would also muddy the waters in reference to this conversation a little bit. So I want you to answer that question in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. I am posting Snowfall episode breakdowns every single week, and we're going to start jumping into each character breakdown. This was my overview of Leon and Wanda, where they were versus where they are now, and hopefully where I see them going. I really, really hoping that they reconcile this season, y'all, but we're going to have to wait and see. I'm Erica Vane, and I will see you in the next video. But before you go, check out all of my Snowfall videos here, or check out the amazing Queen Sugar playlist here.